Okay, welcome everyone to Ralston Road Phase 2, Yukon to Garrison Street. This is our construction kickoff meeting. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. We are gonna be able to take questions and answers at the end of the meeting. If you look at your bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button. Please use that if you think of questions that you want to ask during the meeting, and we'll get to them at the end. If you're having kind of difficulties or you want to talk not necessarily a project question, you're welcome to use the chat, and I'll be monitoring that throughout the meeting. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Trang Tran.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everybody for being able to log into tonight's virtual meeting for some of our team members to provide you an opportunity to learn more about our project, the second phase of Ralston Road from Yukon to Garrison. And first off, I would like to introduce our project team because without all of them here tonight, our project wouldn't be able to move forward. So first of all, my name is Trang Tran, and I will be the project engineer for the city. And then we have our Public Works Director, Don Wick, as a panelist. If Don, if you don't mind waving. And then the next person. And then next is Jacqueline Rhodes, our city engineer. The next we have Chris Lisberg, he's the transportation design manager. And then as you met before, Rachel, she's our communication manager for our infrastructure work system. And then next is we have Joe, he's the roadway engineer representing Felsberg, Hall, and Olevik. Up next we have Mike Salmon, he's the project manager for Hammond Infrastructure. And then lastly, we have Jan. I don't want to mess up your last name. So we have a State Media. She is our public information officer for this project. Next, please. So I'm sure some of you might have asked, why do we need to improve this corridor? Well, as you could see, we have several reasons why Ralston Road is the #1 priority in terms of infrastructure improvements for the city. As of right now, we have the drive lanes that are very narrow. They are approximately 9 feet wide instead of the typical 12 feet as recommended by the federal government and also our engineering standards and specifications. Secondly, the rate of the side swipe in the intersection crashes is high compared to similar street classifications. That is similar to Ralston Road. And Ralston Road being an arterial street, it serves about 24,000 cars a day. In addition, we have unsafe pedestrian conditions due to the sidewalk not meeting current ADA standards. And also the winter driving conditions, it's hazardous on this corridor. Next, please. So in order to solve some of the issues that I mentioned, our scope of work will include the installation of an 8-foot detached or a 10-foot attached sidewalk. The detached sidewalk will include a 7-foot tree lawn with shrubs, trees, tree grades where there's no utility conflict. The drive lanes will be widened from 9 feet to 11 and 12 feet to meet current standards. The construction of the center two-way left turn lane and all the landscape medians will be 12 feet wide. 3 of the medians will include district markers to differentiate 3 distinct areas of the corridor. The east section is the remember section due to its location with respect to Old Town. The middle section is celebrate, which is to celebrate civic and public service. And the last portion, which is the western portion of the corridor at Garrison, it's inspire, in which the public comes from West Arvada to come to Old Town, which is the heart of the city. The project will reconstruct the aging traffic signals, and they will be connected to the city's fiber system to improve traffic progression. Also, the asphalt pavement will be rebuilt to a full depth of 9.5 inches to improve rider quality. The streetscape design goes beyond a typical street widening project. Those elements will include pedestrian lights, landscape tree lawns and medians, benches, trees, tree grades, and enhancement of Wolf Park to include art displayed by local artists. And lastly, we will relocate the utilities, and the overhead lines will be converted to underground, and also relocating the storm sewers. Next, please. Our landscape architect have some render and images to share. On the left-hand side, this is a graphic in front of City Hall, in which you could see we will have raised median wood trees in those medians, and also for the detached sidewalk, we will have a 7-foot wide tree lawn with trees and tree grades, and also pedestrian lighting. On the top right-hand corner, this is at one of the intersection in which we will have a monument sign and also a bench. And then on the lower right-hand corner, this is in front of City Hall, in which we will have the Celebrate district marker. Next, please. Our project is funded through the 3F ballot approved by the residents back in November of 2018. And the amount approved for the project is $15.3 million, being one of the 2 bond projects. And the second bond project is West 72nd Avenue from Kipling to Sims Street. And in addition to the bond funding, the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority has partnered with the city and has agreed to invest $3.5 million to help with the design and construction of the streetscape elements that I just described. In regard to the project timeline, we started the project back in 2019 with the design and also right-of-way acquisition. In about 2 weeks, the project will officially start with the issuance of the notice to proceed 1 to our contractor. And the project will take approximately 2 years to be completed, which is anticipated to be in April 2023. And once the construction has been completed, then it will enter the 2-year warranty period per our current standards and specifications. Next, please. In regard to construction schedule, I will turn this over to Mike Hammond. Mike with Hammond. Mike, please, if you don't mind, just describe our project phasing.
So we start with, it's a very heavily populated street with existing utilities. So we start the project by verifying all of the existing utilities that are in the road and hopefully eliminate any conflicting permanent work, redesign it, correct it, and or install around it. Our first action is to go and install the water line. There's water line at both the east portion of the project and the west segment of the project that needs to be relocated. Now we'll start by installing the new main before we take the existing mains out of service. That will last between 6 to 8 months, at which time we'll move into the full roadway construction. You'll see on April, a little bit into May, where we'll begin shifting traffic to access the water line and to access the storm drains. That will likely stay in place through the second phase, notice to proceed 2. The roadway work will take place from Estes to Yukon in the westbound lanes and Garrison to Estes in the eastbound lanes. So we'll have a little bit of a shift at Estes where we're transitioning traffic from the north side of the roadway to the south side of the roadway. Once that work is complete, we'll then shift to notice to proceed 3, where we'll flip traffic so that we can access the unfinished portions and build Estes to Yukon, the eastbound lanes, Garrison to Estes, the westbound lanes. So that is the north portion from Garrison to Estes and the south portion of the roadway from Estes to Yukon. And that will complete the project with irrigation landscaping in the medians and the outboard shoulders. And the last bit of work will, of course, be punch list and correcting anything we need to fix in the last few weeks.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike described, the construction will be completed in 3 phases. So the first phase would be the utility relocation, and then the contractor will shift to the north to widen the north side, and then lastly, they will shift traffic to the north side to widen the south side. And also with our contract and also in negotiation with the property owners, we did agree that the business access will be maintained during normal business hours. Additionally, RTD service will be impacted, but we are in coordination with RTD so that the impact will be minimized. Just like phase 1, 1 lane in each direction will be open for the remaining Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 3:30, and also disruptions to the traveling public, unfortunately, will occur during those hours. Next, please. The city has come up with an alternative route to show the traveling public where they could go to get around the construction. This is very similar to the first phase alternate route, and so we will upload this route onto the city's project website. So please, we request that you plan ahead to get around the construction sites. And there are ways for the public to stay informed. We do have on the city's website, specifically for the Ralston Road project, as you could see, avada.org/Ralston Road project. You could also sign up for email updates through the project website as well. And also just to get general information in terms of construction updates. We also have uploaded into the city's website a road plot of the site plan in which you could see which part of the road, whether the sidewalk is going to be detached or attached. And then you could also see impacts to each of the property. We do have a general inquiry website, email address, and also a phone number. And so if you email or phone this number, Jan will get back to you. Next, please. And so like Rachel mentioned, we do have a Q&A button at the bottom. So please let us know if you have any questions or concern at this time.
So far, there aren't any questions. Oh, one just popped up. That's great. Someone would like to know what is a detached and what is an attached sidewalk. So can you please define that, Trang?
Sure. My apologies. So when we refer to an attached sidewalk, it's when a sidewalk is adjacent, it's next to the street. And then when we're talking about a detached sidewalk, it's when we have a buffer between the street and the sidewalk, such as a tree or, tree grades, just for aesthetics design. So typically we design an attached sidewalk to minimize right-of-way impacts of the property. Whereas if the building is set back far enough from the street, then we try our best to put in some vertical elements such as a tree or benches, trash receptacle, just to maintain some green features for the project.
Thank you. Okay. Will the new sidewalks happen even where there are currently businesses such as Yak and Yeti?
Correct. So for Yak and Yeti, where their sidewalk is right now, it's actually we're putting in the new sidewalk. And so we are impacting the depth of their parking space. So in terms of the impact to the property itself, you won't see much of a difference.
So that's the roll plot that Trang spoke of. You can go and look on the project webpage and look at each location and see kind of what the plan is for the sidewalk at that location. We have another question. This is a little bit off of the project, but we've got a lot of people here who know things. So what is the plan for the city building on the southeast corner of Garrison and Ralston that's being demolished now? I think that's the
so that property used to be city property, but I believe in March of 2020 of last year, the property was transferred to the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority for redevelopment. So as of right now, there is mitigation on the building due to asbestos. And then my understanding is that once it's done, it will be demolished. And I believe there's been talks with Aura working with a developer to improve that parcel and also the parcel to the south at 57th Avenue as well. And we have done, of course, on the call, Don, if you want to add anything that I'm not aware of, please provide.
What you outlined is what's going on with that building. And at this point, that's really all we know about it until we hear further plans and information from the authority.
Thank you. We have another question. If businesses will have their utilities disrupted, how will the city coordinate with owners in order to keep phone and electric in working order during construction?
So for this one, we will definitely work with our partners, Xcel Energy, CenturyLink, and Comcast to minimize the impacts as much as possible. My understanding with the relocation is that all of the new facilities will need to be built first. And then one is done, then they will energize the new facility. And then I believe there will be a disruption. And so as of right now, since the construction is still going on, we haven't moved forward with the discussion in terms of the impact. So we could definitely share that with the public via our webpage, but also the city is in communication with the owner in regards to when the construction will happen on their site. But thank you for bringing this up. And as soon as we know more details, we will definitely communicate with the public.
Thank you. I have a request to share the link to the the roll plot, which again is on the project page. If we can go back, I think one more slide, that arvada.org Ralston Road project. I'm going to put it in the Q&A, but that will take you right to our project page where there's phase 1 updates, phase 2 updates. And then on the right side of the page, there's a resources section that has different documents associated with both projects. And one of them is called phase 2 roll plot. Okay, another question. Are any existing buildings going to be removed for expansion? The winter dental building seems like it will be right in the sidewalk.
No, no building will be removed. Just to the fact that we understand Ralston Road being a very tight corridor, and so that was one of the top, I think, design criteria, just looking of whether should we detach or attach the sidewalk. So in particularly Doctor's Winter property, we did have to revise the sidewalk. So in the end, fortunately, we're not removing any buildings.
So at this time, I'm going to say last call for questions today. We will post this recording online within a week, so you can rewatch it or share it with other interested parties. That the general inquiry phone number and email address are right in front of you right now. So jot that down. If you think of anything later, we'd be happy to answer your questions. We'll be posting general updates as the project moves forward on our project page. I have one more question. So this question is, why are 10-foot sidewalks needed?
So the Ralston corridor, it has been studied for the last 10 years. So my understanding was that we'll try to mimic it as a trail more than a sidewalk. Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
I do, Trang. So on an attached sidewalk, like Trang mentioned earlier, when it's connected to the roadway like that, the best thing that we're going to do to provide comfort for pedestrians as they walk along the road is to provide them a wide space to be able to essentially walk up and down the street. It also allows for us to install tree grates and trees within the attached sidewalk while still allowing for ADA compliance around the landscape features.
So a follow-up, some areas are only 8 foot, and some are 10. Is that accurate for this project?
That's correct. You know, I think we try to stay as consistent as possible, but again, minimizing impacts just due to setback to, let's say, a building or a sign. So we are very cognizant in terms of, again, all of the impacts the property owners are facing. So yes, you know, consistently, there could be 8 feet attached or 10-foot attached. But to meet ADA requirement, the let's say the ADA route only needs to be 4 feet wide.
Thank you for that. Okay, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending tonight. Thank you to our panelists for being here, and look for those updates as construction moves forward.
Thank you so much.